Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand, everybody. Today is, of course, Thursday, May 1st. So we are in the first day of May. We are now into May now. We're in the fifth month. We're into the fifth month here. So hopefully everybody's having a good year thus far. Everybody has been having a good week. Of course, we're going to give it a few minutes, give people a chance to come in before we get started. So, anyways, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, anyways, I'm gonna go off camera here for a quick moment to um, share something real quick. I'll be right back. But while I'm gone, of course, I'll put some music on. You guys entertained. Great back. All right, I'm back now. All right, so let's see, 290, 220. Give it just a few, about 30 seconds more, and then we'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. Um, so as I said, hopefully everybody's having a good week thus far. And so let's see now. Okay. Yeah, we're coming up on 3 minutes here. So I guess I'll go over. So tonight, of course, Thursday night, which is the night we've been normally doing, of course, the Indie Comic Showcase from Bleeding Fool, which we will be doing that. We'll also be following that up with, of course, um, the wrestling wrap up, in which we'll be, of course, looking at the latest in WWE news, WWE, AEW, some other interesting tidbits from around the wrestling scene. Um, also, we'll be of course, we'll be looking ahead to we'll be looking back at last night's Dynamite, as well as looking ahead to tonight's TNA and Ring of Honor shows. And then we'll wrap things up with This Day Meets History. So, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started then? Well, let's go ahead, grab the. All right, so here we go. All right, so Indie Comic Showcase number 301, Sword of Eden, Super Guardian, and The Hunt, Chapter 2. Article by Christopher Braley, published April 30th, which was yesterday, 2025. All right, so let's get into this. Welcome back to another installment of Indie Comic Showcase, a weekly blog where we signal boost a few truly independent comics that are currently crowdfunding their projects, crowdsourcing their funding in some way, or just completely self-publishing on their own. Let's see. On their own, every little bit of support for these creators matters, from a single dollar pledge to the $25 bundle. And of course, the higher tiers are usually fun too. Even if you can't back a campaign or buy a book, you can share or tweet about these projects to your friends and followers. Or of course, you can check out my show on Thursdays here when we go over the information as well. So, and I'll put the links up as we get to them. So on Indie Comics Showcase, we interview the creators, show off some art, and tell you how you can check out the product for yourself. Below, we have some outstanding crowdfunding campaigns this week for you to learn about, enjoy, and hopefully support by backing one or more of them. Thanks for checking these out and for being the best part of Indie Comics Showcase. Let's jump in. The Hunt, Chapter 2 by Joran Evers. So let's go grab the information here. And this is going to be a Kickstarter campaign. Of course, we know some of the issues have been coming out from that. And here's, of course, the link. As I said, it is a Kickstarter campaign. So here's a link for you guys to go check that out. I'll keep it up for a moment. Give you guys a chance to take a look at it. I have it highlighted. And you can get the information. Of course, with the link being in the chat, you can also just go directly to it to, go and get more of the information. All right, so with that now let's get into this part of the article here. All right, so The Hunt, Chapter 2 by Joran Evers. So Chris Braley. Welcome to the Indie Comics Showcase, Joran Evers. What's the latest installment of your series, The Hunt, all about? Joran Evers. The Hunt, Chapter 2, follows Hunter Danrick. Oh wait, I think we went over Chapter 1, in fact, before. This does sound a little bit familiar. Hunter Danrick, as he arrives at a cathedral overrun by demons, located in the cold northern mountains. He will have to team up with a fellow hunter and brave the threat that lies within the ruined cathedral's walls. The Hunt is a series set in a fantasy world that revolves around creatures of the night and those that hunt them. Chris, where did the idea for this comic come from? Joran, I've always liked werewolves and vampires, and I wanted to tell a story featuring these creatures. Kickstarter provided a means for me to get the book out there on my own terms. Chris, what kind of comic readers is this suited for? Joran, if you like werewolves, vampires, demons, and all stories told about these creatures, then you'll have a blast with The Hunt. Um, The Hunt is a series of graphic novels that is entirely black and white, which fits the tone of the world and the setting. As a result, it has a manga feeling to it, with action-packed pages that also tell a coherent story. Let's see. Chris, how would you describe your style and creative process? Joran, I've been drawing ever since I was little, but my style finally found some footing when I saw Humberto Ramos's work on Crimson. Ever since, I've been inspired by artists like Joe Mad, Jorge Jimenez, and Pepe Larraz. All right. I'm going to go off camera here for a quick moment before I continue on here. I'll be right back. Going to put some music on while I'm gone. All right, sorry about that. I'm back now, so let's get back into this. Get back into this article here. Chris, what is your production workflow like? Joran, I started working on an outline for Chapter 2 shortly after finishing the first book. I like to start with thumbnails to figure out the layout and then move on to digital sketching, line art, and lettering. The book is totally finished and it will go to the printer as soon as the project succeeds and the funds are in. Chris, what are your plans beyond this book? Joran, this is chapter 2 and it sets up the conclusion of the series, which is planned to take place in chapter 3. So basically, he's making this into a 3-part book, basically, or a 3-part story here. After that, this series is done, but there are more stories to tell in this fantasy world, and The Hunt may or may not be setting up some of the storylines that will be crucial to the fate of the world. Let's see, Chris, any special features in the book? Or if crowdfunding special perks or tiers our readers might be interested in? Jordan, the campaign kicks on this Friday and lasts 1 month. Chris, good luck. So there we go. All right, now we'll get to the next comic here, next campaign, The Sword of Eden by Al Nickerson. So let me go grab that link, see what that one kind of entails here. And this is a Fund My Comic campaign. So here's the link to this next article, and it's a Fund My Comic project, The Sword of Eden from Alan Nickerson. So I'll keep that up for a moment to give you guys a chance to get that information down, or to get the link over. So we'll get into the article in a moment here. All right, so there we go with that. So let's get into the article now. The Sword of Eden by Al Nickerson. So let's see what we got here. Chris Braley. Welcome to Indie Comic Showcase, Al. What's the story of your coming? Okay, I think it's supposed to be coming, not coming. Coming, the Sword of Eden. Al Nickerson. Our heroes search for a legendary sword and Noah's Ark while battling demons, zombies, ninja, Count Orlok, and the Green Knight. Comics are a powerful literary art form for sharing important stories and ideas, including the gospel. So I take it he's gonna, this might be a Christian comic then, maybe. Chris, where did the idea for this comic originate, and why choose self-publishing? Al, there's an audience that loves superheroes and character-driven stories without compromising Christian principles. The Sword of Eden fills that niche. Self-publishing lets me retain ownership, control content, and avoid publishers taking profits. Basically, get your project out directly to the people, basically, and deal with them directly. Cut out the middleman, as it were. Chris, what audience is The Sword of Eden suited for? Al, it's recommended for preteens to adults seeking faith-friendly, action-packed storytelling. Chris, describe your artistic style and creative process. Al, my style blends cartoony superhero influences from John Byrne, Terry Austin, Frank Miller, Dave Sim, Jack Kirby, and Will Eisner. Quite a collection of artists and writers to take from. Chris, who contributed to this project? Al, it's just me relying on the creativity God has blessed me with. Chris, walk us through your production workflow. Al, I'm currently working on Volume 3, The Sword of Eden, Cry Vampire. Get off my planet, you dirty, stinky scroll. Chris, what have you learned from self-publishing and crowdfunding? Al, Dave Sims' Cerebus Guide to Self-Publishing taught me valuable lessons. Crowdfunding is a new educational experience. Chris, are there special features or perks for supporters we should mention? Al, the Fund My Comic campaign offers exclusive access to the My Secret Invasion 2 limited edition print. Yeah. Excuse me one more time, folks. I take care of something here. All right, sorry about that. Anyways, let's get back to the article here. Let's see. All right. Chris, anything else the readers should know? Al, I'm a Christian creator, SBA graduate, and former artist for DC, Archie, Marvel, and animation studios like Sesame Street and Nickel. Wow, that's an interesting one, Sesame Street right there. And I did notice he said former artist, so my guess is ideologically he found some of the directions they may have been going to be not in line with his beliefs. Chris, any plans for future stories? Al, the series will continue through at least 6 volumes. Chris, good luck, Al. The book looks fantastic. We're rooting for you. All right, so now we get back to. All right, so now the last last campaign we're gonna focus on here, Super Guardian by Arnav Kapoor. So let's go grab the link here. It looks like this is a. I'm guessing this is a. This is a separate link. This isn't either on. This isn't on anything. It's on his own. I guess the Super Guardian site. I guess or graphic crowd list. All right. So let's see now. Hey, Vitchozo. Hi, everybody. What nose problems do you have? I think it's just simply allergies. It's just that just can't. It's like I feel like I got a snot bubble in my nose and just can't get it to go away. I have a deviated septum myself. Yeah, well, with that, though, anyways, so now let me just go ahead and share this link here. And of course, if you haven't already, you can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That would be appreciated. And of course, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment down or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, there's the link. You guys want to go check that out for this latest story? I'll leave it up for a moment so you guys can take a look at that. Maybe get the information. I'm going to go check this out. All right, so now with that being said, let's get into reading this a bit. Super Guardian by Armav Kapoor. Chris Braley. Briefly tell us the elevator pitch for your comic Armav Kapoor. It's a sci-fi adventure about scientist David who struggles to move on from his parents' deaths during COVID-19. After encountering a blue cosmic ball, the universe's most powerful object, he gains uncontrollable powers and must find a way to rid himself of them. Chris, where did the idea originate and why self-publish? Arma, during the pandemic, I wanted to channel my creativity into a project combining my art, writing, and storytelling skills. I chose self-publishing to retain full creative control and ownership. Chris, who is the target audience? Arma, readers 18 and up due to mature themes like grief, violence, disease, and loss balanced with sci-fi action and adventure. Chris, try to describe your artistic style and creative process. Armoff, my style blends traditional comic art with realistic elements, inspired by legends like Jack Kirby, and the second straight guy that we talked about who had some influence from Jack Kirby. Of course, I'm sure Jack Kirby has influenced many an artist over the years, right? Energy designs. I work 2 to 3 hours daily alongside my studies. Chris, what's the production status? Armoff, the ebook is complete and available on Gumroad. What have you learned from self-publishing? Chris asked. Armoff, I handled every aspect of writing, art, and editing over 3 years. Promoting effectively, engaging audiences, and valuing creative autonomy is the biggest lessons. Chris, any future plans for this series? Armov, this launches a long-term sci-fi series with 50-plus stories planned over the past 3 years. All right. Wow. Anything else to share? Arma, I hope readers enjoy the story, continue supporting my journey to create more. Chris, good luck, Arma. So that's it for this installment. If you're a creator ramping up your own campaign, or have a comic available to purchase online, and you want to be featured in our weekly column. Click here. So we can hopefully help you get more eyes on your crowdfunding comic project. Till next time, support indie comics. All right, so there we go with that one. So let's go through one more time. Well, first off, let's go through one more time the projects that we looked at tonight. So this is, of course, the first one, The Hunt, Chapter 2. That was the Kickstarter project. You guys want to go check that out? There it is. Let's see. The second one we went over was The Sword of Eden. That's a Fund My Comics project from Al Nickerson. Let's see. And the last one, of course, being Super Guardian Armor Kapoor. And on the graphic novelist gumroad.com. Let me see. Going back up here for a moment, The Hunt. Let me just remind myself of who that was again. They have the names probably right here somewhere. Oh, Joran Evers was the one who did that one. So we're done with that portion. Guys want to go check those out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the wrestling wrap-up, because we do have quite a bit to talk about there. And just some brief WWE news first off to talk about. So her first, major film role, Liv Morgan's first major film role, has just been announced. Since the announcement that she's gonna be doing the movies, which is a movie involving her being a kidnapped daughter of a banker, I believe. So. So it was just recently announced, of course, that Liv Morgan and Drew McIntyre would now be getting into the movies a bit more, and are looking for projects to work outside, which might mean, of course, that they might be stepping away from in-ring action for a while. But apparently, this first role that Morgan got. We'll only keep her out for maybe a few weeks. So, anyways, let me one more time here see if I can take care of a particular issue here. I'll be right back. right. Hopefully that will settle it now. Hopefully. All right. So anyway, so with that, let's talk about some more wrestling news on the wrestling wrap up here. We're gonna go ahead and move on to what happened on last night's AEW Dynamite, as they are preparing for their Double or Nothing event coming up on the 25th, coming up 3 weeks from this Sunday, as some major developments since happened. So the opening match of the evening saw in an 8-man tag match the new elite of course, the Young Bucks of Matthew and Nicholas Jackson and Kazuchika Okada, the current Continental Champion, teaming with Ricochet to defeat International Champion Kenny Omega, Mark Briscoe, Mike Bailey, and Kevin Knight in an 8-man tag. Let's see. After quite a bit of time of quite an intense action, the Elite getting the win on, actually Ricochet getting the pin on Mark Briscoe, avenging a loss from last week. In a non-title 6-man tag match, the AEW World Trios Champions, the Ops of Powerhouse Hobbs, Samoa Joe, and Katsuyori Shibata, defeated the team of Nick Camarado, Miles Hawkins, and Rhett Titus. After the match, they were attacked by the Death Riders, trying to get the upper hand. Let's see, with of course Claudio Castagnoli trying to take out Katsuyori Shibata, just as they did Hook by executing the neutralizer, the basically inverted mat slam onto a chair with the legs up. That's what they've been doing of late. This led to Joe. So Joe, who will be challenging Jon Moxley for the AEW World Title in just under 2 weeks on the 14th at Spring Break, AEW's Dynamite Spring Break show, or Beach Breakout, whatever. It will lead to, but initially he's already set to challenge him, but he decided to up the ante, decided to challenge Moxley to a cage match to try to neutralize the man of the make sure nobody can interfere in the match. Now that should prove to be a very physical, violent match. In a women's world title eliminator match, a match in which if the challenger wins, they get themselves a title shot. In this case, at the women's world title, Toni Storm fended off the challenge of Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling's Miyu Yamashita, withstanding a bunch of kicks to keep to come back and get the win with Storm Zero. After the match, of course, she was interrupted by Mercedes Moné, only for Mercedes to be interrupted by Jamie Hayter as Moné tried to attack Hayter. Hayter basically planted her on her rear end. Moné runs off, leaves one of the belts that she currently holds behind. Only for Jamie Hayter, who has some history with some unresolved history with Toni Storm, to get in a stare down with Storm in the ring. As Jamie Hayter and and Mercedes Moné are set to take each other on in the finals of the women's Owen Hart tournament, with the winner of that tournament, of course, getting a shot at Toni Storm's or whoever happens to be the women's world title at that point. But most likely right now, Toni Storm at All In Texas in June. And then Nick Wayne, with the patriarchy in his corner, successfully defended the Ring of Honor World Television title against two-time former Ring of Honor World Television Champion Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal, in this attempt to get back on track. He hasn't been on TV much of late. There was some friction over the weekend on Collision between, of course, Lethal and Lethal with the Jarretts and Satman Singh and Sanjay Dutt. Apparently, the unit's not been happy with Dutt's efforts of late. Of course, going back to Nick Wayne's victory here for a moment, this, of course, is another, he's been getting some momentum lately as of course, his quote-unquote father figure here, or father, Christian, has got him a spot in the New Japan Super Juniors tournament coming up here in a few weeks here. And then the main event for the evening saw advancing to the men's final of the Owen Hart tournament to face Will Ospreay at Double or Nothing. Adam Page defeated the Don Callis family's Kyle Fletcher to set up a match between Adam Page and Will Ospreay in the finals of the Owen Hart tournament. And just as with the women, in the men's final, they will challenge whoever the AEW World Champion is. Right now, that's, of course, Jon Moxley. But depending on what happens in a couple weeks here, it could be Samoa Joe for all we know. So that's all we got for the AEW stuff. So now let's look ahead to what's going down on tonight's TNA and Ring of Honor shows. As, of course, coming off of the Rebellion pay-per-view this past Sunday, total nonstop action. Of course, Joe Hendry coming off of let's see what we got here for tonight. And tonight's, of course, TNA Impact will be a live edition tonight on Access TV. It'll be live from the Brand Event Center in Irvine, California. Matches signed for tonight: Jody Threat, one half of Spitfire, Jody Threat with Danny Luna in her corner, will be taking on Maggie Lee, a recent TNA signing. Mike Santana is set to take on a mystery opponent on tonight's show. First class is Casey Navarro with AJ Francis in his corner, takes on the youngest in charge, Leon Slater. In a TNA X Division title match, Moose defends against Zachary Wentz. In a six-man tag team match, Frankie Kazarian and the Nemeth brothers, Nick and Ryan Nemeth, coming off of their World Tag Team title win over the Hardy Boys, will be taking on TNA World Champion Joe Hendry and the former World Tag Team Champions, the Hardys, Jeff and Matt Hardy. So that's all that's set up for tonight on tonight's Impact. Now let me see if we can find out what's going to be going on Ring of Honor tonight. on tonight's Ring of Honor. So on tonight's Ring of Honor show, which has been previously taped, I gather, Mina Shirakawa makes her return to Ring of Honor. She'll be taking on Layla Gray. Mina Shirakawa, of course, signed with AEW this past month, finishing up her time in Stardom. We'll have some other Stardom news as well. In a tag team match, the Spanish Announce Project of Angelico and Serpentico take on the frat house members of Griff Garrison and Cole Carter, with Jack Jameson and Preston Vance in their corner. And then in a match for the Ring of Honor Women's World Television title, Red Velvet will defend against La Catalina, who earned a shot recently. So that's all coming up on Ring of Honor tonight. So let's see. With that now, with today being Thursday, May the 1st, 2025. Let's go as we just wrapped up the wrestling wrap up, as it were. Let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So, all right. So first, I'm going to head back 30 years ago, as on this date 30 years ago today. On this date 30 years ago today, from Gladstone Comics, the 40th issue of Carl Banks' Library of Walt Disney's Comics and Stories in Color went on sale on this date back in 1995. It sold for $8.95, was 56 pages. So talk about inflation, right? You get a comic that size for probably about 10 cents back in the late 1930s, early 1940s, and now in 1985, you had to pay just under $9 for something like that. So go figure that out. All right. So moving ahead to the year 2000, since I, of course, can grab that. We head to the year 2000. On this date in the year 2000, let's see, HBO's George and Martha concluded their run on HBO on HBO Family on this day in 2000. So, George and Martha is a series of children's books written and illustrated by James Marshall between 1972 and 1988. Each book in the series contains 5 short stories describing interactions between two hippos. George and Martha, named after the first U.S. president and his wife. The books inspired an animated children's show which comprised 26 episodes, made in 1999, and a musical made in 2011. So, on this date in the year 2000, HBO's George and Martha completed its run on HBO Family. Let's see now. Now, let's see. Moving on to the next piece of niche history. We move ahead to the year 2005. On this date in the year 2005, WWE held its Backlash pay-per-view, the 7th annual Backlash pay-per-view, from the Verizon Wireless Arena in Manchester, New Hampshire. On that show, of course, it's in the, let's see. In the main event, Batista defeated Triple H in a singles match to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. From the 5 scheduled bouts on the undercard, 2 received more promotion than the others. The first was a tag team match in which Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan defeated Muhammad Hassan and Daivari. The other was a last man standing match, a match where a wrestler is unable to respond to a 10 count by the referee would lose. Edge defeated Chris Benoit after Benoit failed to get to his feet before the refs count to 10. So that was pretty much the gist of what happened. So 20 years ago today, WWE held its Backlash pay-per-view, its 7th annual Backlash pay-per-view from the Verizon Wireless Arena in Manchester, New Hampshire. So getting ready now to move on to the next piece in each history, or the last piece in each history, rather. As we move ahead to the year 2010, on this date in the year 2010, the anime movie Production IG's Book Girl. Production IG's Book Girl premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 2010. So 15 years ago today. 15 years ago today, Production IG's Book Girl premiered in Japanese theaters on this date in the year 2010. Let's see. So Book Girl is a Japanese anime film directed by Shunsuke Tada and produced by Production IG as a commemoration of Enterbrain's 10-year anniversary. The film is based on the light novel series Book Girl, written by Mitsuki Nomura and illustrations by Miho Takeoka. It was released in Japanese theaters on May 1st, 2010. Later released on Blu-ray disc, DVD, August 27th, 2010 by Pony Canyon. So with that, we're never heard of it till just now. Well, and maybe. Well, yeah. Let me. I guess maybe I'll go ahead and let me back up again real quick here. Oops. There we go. Let's see. Well, I'll read off the synopsis for you, the plot, just so you know if it does pique your interest, you can go check it out. Shortly after entering high school, Konoha Inoue is recruited into the literature club by Toko Amano. Excuse me one more time here. This hopefully will be the last time, as we are about to gonna just go off camera here for a moment. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Let's take a look here. I know. All right, Pony Canyon. Pony Canyon has produced the soundtrack to a lot of my favorite series. Oh, okay, that's interesting there. But anyways, so let's see. So by Toko Amano. So shortly after entering high school, Kanoa Inoue is recruited into the literature club by Toko Amano, the president and sole member of the club. After he witnesses her ripping out a page of a book and eating it, instead of eating actual food, Toko can only eat stories by consuming the paper they are printed on. Let's see. Kanoa spends his days after school writing stories for Toko as quote unquote snacks. Toko had previously set up a birdhouse on the school grounds so anyone can ask the literature club to help them in matters of love by submitting letters. This is Book Girl, by the way. Toko and Kanoa. Okay, so I think it gave you enough of I think that's enough of the synopsis. I think you pretty much have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. So, anyways, with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope you guys had you guys enjoyed the show. We'll be back here, of course, tomorrow with more niche news. And we'll be back here Sunday as RJ Carter from Critical Blast will be joining me as we will be looking back to comics that went on sale in May of 1940. So let's see. This week we'll be focusing in on Fiction House. We'll be catching up with some Sheena the Jungle Girl, Stuart Taylor, Weird Stories of Supernatural, and much more. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. And I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.